Hello, is the Sinister Gambino here with a new video. In this video I'm going to be doing a review and guide on the RUNE Zhaba, which is an off-roads class of course. So starting off with the RUNE Zhaba, its price is between 2.4 million and then 1.8 million, whether you have the trade price or not. And the way you get the trade price was on the screen. Onto the customization options of the RUNE Zhaba, there's front and rear bumpers, exhausts, fenders, quite the options in all of those, and then there's grills. Livery is actually a pretty interesting one. It's like a lot of different vehicles in the game where they just slap on gun running liveries from quite a couple years ago. But there's also unique-ish liveries on it as well. And then there's things like rack, roof, and then like roof panels, and then all that stuff. Onto the performance of the vehicle. In comparison to the RC Bandito, it actually has pretty comparable placements. And I bring that up because when I originally did the RC Bandito review, I couldn't do like lap time and top speed because I don't think Bruffy 1322 tested that at the time. So this will kind of give those placements as well. So for lap time, this vehicle is actually the way bottom of the off-road class, and that's including non-raceable and raceable options. So it's the absolute worst of its class for lap time. And then it's second worst in terms of top speed, compared to all the raceable and non-raceable options, of course. And of course for the RC Bandito, that means it's second worst and then worst for top speed, of course, in that case. Next, I actually wanted to test out the ramming capabilities with this vehicle, actually, because I looked back at like my Insurgent reviews for the 3 different like Insurgents in the game, and I did like a ramming test for that, actually, and it was pretty impressive for that one, actually. So I kind of thought, since this is bulky and armored as well, that it would kind of have good ramming capabilities, but sadly it does not because of its huge like wheels and suspension and all that. However, instead it kind of acts like a monster truck in some ways, actually, which could be kind of nice in some cases. Though also, like, the other half of the time it's probably going to spin out because of that or something. So yes, a lot of times it's going to spin out when it runs into traffic, like especially if it's more like larger vehicles, I would imagine. However, with more like shorter vehicles, it can actually like go over them as if this is like some crazy armored like monster truck. So that's something I found pretty interesting with this vehicle for sure. Onto the bullet and explosive resistant tests, I started out with the minigun, and it actually took around 2,000. Of course, there's probably some like human error and stuff like that, of course, but it should be around 2,000 for sure. It's actually pretty impressive because I believe like the Insurgents, for example, I believe those actually took under 1,000, believe it or not. A lot of armored vehicles, even though they look armored, they can get like decimated surprisingly quick with a minigun, I'd say for sure. And also, I didn't really test out the like windows, the bullet resistant windows, because it's basically the same as one of the previous reviews I did, the ENS Paragon R and Paragon R Armored, which I believe it takes around like 16 pistol shots in order to destroy the like bullet resistant glass. I don't think it really matters where you do it. So that's kind of the bullet resistant glass as well. But yeah, for RPG, I'm pretty sure it took 12. I opted out of the homing launcher test because it actually took 11 when I did that one. Reason probably was because I was trying to make sure that I got good shots with the homing launcher, make sure that I locked on good, of course. So it was pretty much the same from my personal experience from the regular and homing launchers. But yeah, the explosive resistant was actually around like the Insurgent, actually. And for explosive sniper, I actually took 34 shots, which was pretty impressive. I think that's the most of anything I've tested by far on this series. In this clip, I show off that there's no mounted weaponry on here, and also, for some reason, the explosives, like the throwable explosives, are excluded for like driver and passenger seats, it appears. However, I believe you can use throwables even like above water in the back seats, so that's actually pretty cool. Sadly, in this clip here, I ended up losing the footage that I wanted to use here. What I did was I was doing a bunch of special cargo until I finally got the sourcing mission that I wanted, which is a sourcing mission for special cargo where you have to go to like the free boats and you have to destroy the Marquis for the free packages, whatever. But I don't really care that I lost that footage because it sucks. This vehicle really sucks for amphibious missions. You might as well use something like a Sea Sparrow or a Dodo seaplane even without not being weaponized either. I would imagine that's even better. than the RUNE Zhaba for sure. Finally, as I do with mostly every vehicle that I review on the channel, of course, I wanted to do a VIP work with this. Because honestly, VIP works is pretty much the most successful thing this is going to do, to be honest. It didn't do really good in Headhunter. It's possible to do Headhunter with this vehicle. And if I need more footage, I might include the attempt at Headhunter. But because of the bullet-resistant glass and with it having no mounted weaponry, unlike the ENS Paragon are armored, you're really not going to have a very easy time on Headhunter. So I preferred Hostile Takeover with this one personally, which gives like 17,000 when doing it for like 5 minutes. I believe it took around 5 minutes for this vehicle personally. But yeah, for pros, I have around like 13, I believe, and then I have a couple more cons than I do pros actually with this vehicle. But yeah, first pro with this vehicle, I'm pretty sure at least, it's that it comes with bulletproof tires. A lot of like armored-ish vehicles like this do come with bulletproof tires. That's not really that surprising, to say the least. But yeah, might be possibly wrong on that, but even if not, it's not that expensive or anything anyways. But yeah, next pro that I have is it can seat 4 people, which of course is an entire heist crew. Surely with the D'Agostino heist you can have up to 4 players, and then the other ones you can also have up to 4 players, and even the original ones for the most part you have to have 4 players. So it could be nice, but there's definitely a lot better vehicles, of course, for a heist for sure. But yeah, next pro I have is honestly probably the best thing that this vehicle honestly has, is that it has great customizations. Yeah, customizations are pretty damn good on this vehicle. I'd say it's actually the best thing this actually has to offer, to be completely honest. Next pro I have is it has more unique liveries. And what I mean by that, of course, is that it has typical like 21 gun running liveries from like back in 2017, of course. The 21 like different gun running liveries that were on it. And like 22 to 31 or whatever were all like kind of more unique liveries. So yeah, they did use the hella overused like gun running liveries, but at least it kind of has its own liveries on like other vehicles. Other vehicles that were released even after gun running, I believe for the most part, only have the gun running liveries in some cases. So it's definitely nice that they gave it kind of a bit more variety compared to certain other vehicles with the liveries. But yeah, next pro I have is it can drive over small vehicles similar to a monster truck, I put in parentheses. And yeah, as I've shown when doing the ramming tests or whatever, it's not really a ramming vehicle at all. Might kind of seem that way, of course, being armored and stuff, but because it's so like lightweight combined with like the suspension and stuff like that, it's really not going to be a ramming vehicle whatsoever. What it's good at instead, of course, is it can go over small vehicles, as mentioned earlier. Next pro it has is it has great bullet resistance, and in parentheses I put around 2,000 minigun bullets. So I believe, of course, the max was 9999, of course, and it was like in the high 7,000s, of course, when it got destroyed. There might have been a bit of human error, but yeah, it should definitely be around that amount for sure. Next pro I have is it has bullet resistant glass. Like yeah, it's not as good as other vehicles with the bulletproofness of the windows for sure, like the armored Kuruma, that's much better off, and then there's like the half track even. That one can't even get destroyed with FMJ rounds. I believe the half track, like in the front and back, can't even be destroyed by FMJ rounds, which is very impressive. So it's nowhere near the most bulletproof vehicle for the glass in the game, but yeah. Regardless, it's something to appreciate for sure. Next pro I have is it has great explosive resistance, and it took 12 RPGs. Might have just been me. The armor kind of seems a little bit finicky, but it should be around like 12 to 16, I would imagine. I think it has universal armor, I believe, so that means like when you're inside it or anyone's inside it, it's going to basically be the same amount whether someone's inside the vehicle or not. So it's not that other type of armor or whatever, I don't think, and even if there is that other type of armor, it seems to only give it a couple more like explosive resistance for like rockets, and that includes homing ones. I believe it's that take like 15 on the professionals review for the Oppressor Mark II missiles, for example. Also, going back to the current pro that I was on, it takes 34 explosive sniper rounds in order to destroy the RUNE Zhaba. So it takes almost an entire explosive sniper, so that's actually pretty impressive. I wouldn't doubt that a lot of armored vehicles take that much amount to begin with. And then, next pro I have is it allows for MGs, assault rifles, and throwables in the back seats. So you get more extended weaponry in terms of what you can use in the back seats. I didn't really say anything about it on the video yet, but I did show it off with text and stuff on what was supposed to be that special cargo mission, but it didn't really do good in it anyways. So it's not a big loss that I didn't get that footage or whatever, since I did record it incorrectly or whatever. But yeah. Next pro I have is it's amphibious, so it can go in the water, of course. I believe this is the first vehicle I'm reviewing that does have amphibious capabilities, though it is highly related to the APC as well. And personally, I highly prefer an APC over a RUNE Zhaba for sure, since it actually has weapons on it. And it's actually not as good as the APC, as I'll kind of talk more about later. But yeah. Next pro I have is it can be okay in the Diamond Casino Heist for a getaway vehicle. While I personally haven't played it yet, I wouldn't doubt that it has advantages over the other getaway vehicles for sure, with having the bullet resistant glass and then also the different types of weaponry you can use in the back of it. That's not really something you would have in the other getaway vehicles, surely. Unless there was something from the previous DLC, but I would assume for sure that they all take from the Diamond Casino Heist DLC. So surely there's some advantages with this as a getaway vehicle compared to all the other ones. But yeah, next pro I have is it's okay in terms of off-road capabilities. But yeah, its off-road capabilities aren't the greatest. It can't go up very steep hills or anything. But it can go up pretty alright, hills or whatever, just as long as they're not too steep or anything. And then the last pro I have is actually that it has a trade price. Only reason I put it has a trade price as a pro is because I didn't want the cons to outnumber the pros too much, so I thought of everything I could, and that's kind of good with this. And it came out in a Diamond Casino Heist update, which this is the only interesting vehicle, to say the least, that has a trade price. The Invade and Persuade tank and then the JB700W, those two do not have trade prices. So yeah, this is the only one from that update that actually has a trade price. That's why I wanted to bring that in attention with the pros. But yeah, for cons, like I mentioned, I have a couple more cons than I do pros. First con I have is it's expensive for what you get. You're not really getting that good of a vehicle at all, to be honest. You're not getting any weapons on it. You're really just getting a lot of explosive resistance and bullet resistant glass. Which there's a lot of other armored vehicles, even without them having bullet resistant glass. This might be the first armored vehicle with bullet resistant glass that can take this much explosives and stuff, yeah. But aren't explosives just gonna pretty much get rid of the bullet resistant glass anyways? But yeah, if this was around the price of the regular Insurgent, 600 to 900,000, something like that, then yeah, maybe this could definitely be worth it for sure. But not 1.8 and $2.4 million for the regular price, not on discount, which I believe this current event week, which I'm going to be uploading this on, I believe it is on a discount, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But yeah, next con I have is it does not come with 100% armor. So yeah, you do have to purchase the armor 100% for $50,000. The vehicles the Insurgents, I believe all the Insurgents and then Armored Kuruma vehicles that, it actually does not have an armor option. First one listed would be Brake, but I think this one does not have it like that or whatever. That's kind of unfortunate. Third con I have is it cannot ram vehicles, which is pretty disappointing for an armored vehicle and all. But yeah, like I mentioned, it's probably because of the high suspension and then also how lightweight it is and all that stuff. And then, next con I have is it can spin out somewhat easily. So yeah, if it's not going to go over a vehicle, it's most definitely going to spin out, I would imagine. So basically half the times it's probably going to spin out whenever you go over a vehicle, stuff like that. Next con I have is it cannot use throwables in front seats. So I don't know why that would be the case, because a lot of armored vehicles can kind of do that, like the original Insurgent and all that stuff. The fact that throwables are limited to back seats, that really ruins the potential of the vehicle for solo usage. Again, ruins the vehicle even further than it already is, of course, with how bad it is. Next con I have is it has no mounted weaponry. But yeah, even if it had just like machine guns on it, or even just proximity mines, or even like both on it, then this vehicle would have a lot more potential than what it has right now. And just because it's an amphibious vehicle doesn't mean it couldn't have like proximity mines. APC is amphibious and that has proximity mines. So if it had at least one of those, it could be decently useful in the slightest at least. But yeah. Next con I have is it has terrible performance, worse than second worst in class. But yeah, between all the off-road vehicles in the game, it has the worst like lap time of all the off-road vehicles. And then it has second worst for top speed, and those are basically reversed for like the RC Bandito, so it's kind of like as bad as the RC Bandito when it comes to off-road class, which is pretty bad. But yeah. Next con I have is it has even worse performance in water. But yeah, obviously on water it's not going to be as good on land, I get that of course. But the problem is it's outclassed by even APC. And APC came out like 2 or 3 years around there before this even. So at least with this one not having like weapons and stuff like that, it would have been nice if it like performed better in water than APC. But even when it sucks worse than the APC in water, there's practically no reason at all, even for water usage, to get this vehicle whatsoever. But yeah, next con I have is it's a horrible amphibious vehicle, which pretty much any details I need to go in with that con has pretty much already been said. But yeah, next con I have is it has no proximity mines, which I kind of went into with the fact that it has no mounted weapons. Is that at least with machine guns or proximity mines, or even both, it could actually be useful. And proximity mines would have been one I would have really loved to see for weaponry that a RUNE Zhaba can have. Like whether it be just regular proximity mines or even any of the arena war proximity mines, that would have been pretty cool. Would have expanded the usefulness of its vehicle for sure, since it has about no usefulness in my personal opinion. Next con I have is it lacks many purchase incentives. But yeah, pretty much all you're getting with this vehicle is explosive resistance and the bullet resistant glass. Which a bullet resistant glass isn't really all that impressive necessarily either. And yeah, you can get armored vehicles of course with more to offer for sure. But yeah, next con I have is it's not raceable. Even though it has no weapons on it, for whatever reason it cannot be raced with, even when it's the worst and like second worst in the class, which I don't necessarily get. Maybe it's because of the amphibiousness that they didn't want to let people race with it, but I don't really think there would be much of any shortcuts you can make in races with the amphibious capabilities of the vehicle anyways. So yeah, for whatever weird reason it's not a raceable vehicle, even though it has no weapons. Next con I have is that the bullet resistant glass only takes 15 to 16 bullets. So yeah, even with like a combat pistol with a whole magazine of like a combat pistol, you can destroy the bullet resistant glass. So like I said, it's really not that impressive. Like I said, the fact that it has that at all is definitely pretty appreciated for sure. Next con I have is it easily gets tossed around. So yeah, as I shown off, if you shoot it really good with a like minigun, you can like put the vehicle on its back and stuff like that, and then surely if you get hit by like RPGs and stuff, your vehicle is gonna be tossed around like a tossed salad. And then that goes into the next con as well, being it's lightweight, pretty much the same stuff there. So no reason to go in more details of it there. And then the final con I have is it's difficult to make money with. There's not really much of any like money opportunity this thing can do much with, honestly. The most unique thing it can do, as I've shown off, is it can be helpful for some of the amphibious like sourcing missions in the game. But even then, with like the Sea Sparrow and then like the Tula and kind of even the Dodo Seaplane, there's not much like purpose of even using this in that case either. But yeah, that's finally going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed.